Way out in the cold, dark edge of our solar system, a pale blue giant is spinning on its side. That's Uranus, a planet so weird it makes other planets look boring. But Uranus itself is only half the story. Orbiting this silent, tilted world is a family of moons so strange, so scarred, and so mysterious, they make us question everything we know about how planets and moons are born. These aren't just moons, they're the mangled survivors of a cosmic train wreck. They're storytellers. And the story they tell is about unbelievable violence, of worlds being shattered and glued back together. They tell us about hidden oceans and canyons so deep they make our Grand Canyon look like a ditch. So what could have happened to this planet to create such a bizarre collection of moons? To find the answer, we have to travel 3 billion kilometers from Earth to visit the solar system's freakiest family of moons. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a cliff. Now imagine that cliff is on a tiny moon, smaller than some states in the US. If you dropped a rock, it would take a full 10 minutes to finally hit the bottom. This isn't science fiction, this is Miranda, the innermost of Uranus's big moons, and it's just our first stop. What we found here and on its sibling moons points to a past so violent it's hard to wrap your head around. A past that not only tore these worlds apart but might have also given them a secret gift, hidden oceans of liquid water. When NASA's Voyager 2 spacecraft flew by Uranus back in 1986, it sent back pictures that left scientists speechless. And of all the moons, Miranda was the most shocking. It just looked wrong, like a jigsaw puzzle put together in the dark. Miranda is a Frankenstein's monster of a moon, a patchwork world where totally different terrains are stitched together with sharp, jarring borders. In one area you'll see old crater-covered plains, exactly what you'd expect an old moon to look like. But right next to it are huge grooved patterns called coronae, which are massive collections of ridges and valleys that look like nothing else in the solar system. The most famous of these is a giant V-shaped feature that looks like someone carved it into the surface with a massive tool. And then there are the canyons. Miranda has massive fault canyons that are up to 20 kilometers deep in some places. That's 12 times deeper than the Grand Canyon, all on a tiny moon that's only about 470 kilometers across. Its surface is just a chaotic mess, a clear sign that it went through some intense geological drama. So what on earth happened to Miranda? For a long time, the main theory was as dramatic as the moon looks. That Miranda got smashed to bits by a huge impact, maybe more than once, and all the pieces just clumsily pulled themselves back together with gravity. Imagine a world shattering and then reforming, with the heavier bits sinking to the middle and the lighter ice creating a messy crust on top. More recent ideas suggest that the weird coronae might have been formed by slushy ice pushing up from inside the moon. But it gets even stranger. For years, everyone thought Miranda was too small and cold for any internal heat. But a surprising 2024 study suggests that tidal forces from Uranus could have warmed it up enough to create, and maybe even keep, an ocean under the surface. The very same forces that might have ripped its surface apart could have also created a life-giving ocean deep beneath the ice. Miranda isn't just a freak, it's a world of incredible contradictions. Moving out from Miranda, we find Ariel. If Miranda is the Frankenstein moon, Ariel is the bright, active mystery. It has the brightest and possibly the youngest surface of all of Uranus's major moons. This brightness suggests its surface has been repaved pretty recently, wiping away the old scars. Instead of being covered in ancient craters, Ariel's landscape is crossed by a huge network of valleys and deep grooves. Some of these canyons are enormous and their floors are incredibly smooth, almost like something flowed through them and paved them over. This points to cryovolcanism, volcanoes that spew out slushy, molten ice instead of rock. But here's where it gets really exciting. Recent research, published in early 2025, suggests that some of these trench-like features could be active spreading centers. Think of them like the mid-ocean ridge on Earth, where new crust is made as tectonic plates pull apart. These grooves on Ariel might be geological windows, bringing material from deep inside the moon right up to the surface. This is a huge deal. Why? Because Ariel, like its siblings, is a top candidate for having a subsurface ocean. Those spreading centers could be directly connected to this hidden ocean, bringing its water and chemicals to the surface for us to see. In fact, the James Webb Space Telescope has already spotted carbon dioxide ice on Ariel's surface, which likely came from inside the moon, and was brought up through this exact process. Ariel isn't just a pretty face, it's a geologically active world that might be showing us exactly what's going on inside. Beyond Ariel, we find the other major moons, and they each have their own puzzles. Umbriel is Ariel's dark twin. It's the darkest of the 5 main moons, with an old, heavily cratered surface that suggests it's been geologically quiet for a very long time. But it has one big mystery: a bright, weird ring on one side, and nobody knows what it is. And even though it looks quiet, models suggest that even dark, old Umbriel could be hiding a liquid ocean deep inside. Farther out are Titania and Oberon, the 2 biggest moons of Uranus. They're like total opposites. Titania shows signs of past activity with massive faults and canyons that hint it once had the energy to reshape itself. Oberon, on the other hand, looks old and inactive, covered in craters, though some of its crater floors have a mysterious dark material. And you guessed it, both are thought to have oceans too. Given how big they are, their oceans could even be warm enough to be considered potentially habitable, heated by the decay of radioactive elements in their cores. But these outer moons also have a weird paradox. Scientists thought the trailing sides of the moons would be darker from radiation hitting them, but recent observations found the opposite. The leading sides of Titania and Oberon are darker. The best guess is that they're constantly being coated by a shower of dark dust, probably kicked off from Uranus's smaller outer moons. They're being shielded from radiation by a screen of cosmic dust, something we haven't seen so clearly anywhere else. So how did this whole system get so weird? A shattered moon, another one with active geology, a planet tilted on its side, and bizarre orbits. These aren't just separate random quirks. They're all clues that point to a single, unbelievably violent event in Uranus's distant past. The theory that ties all this weirdness together is the giant impact hypothesis. Billions of years ago, when the solar system was a much more chaotic place, a massive object, maybe the size of Earth, slammed into the young Uranus. It wasn't a head-on collision, but a grazing blow so powerful that it literally knocked the planet over, giving it the 98-degree tilt we see today. That massive impact would have created a huge disk of molten rock and vaporized ice around the newly tilted planet. And it was from this chaotic, swirling mess of debris that the moons we see today were born. This explains everything. It explains why the moons orbit Uranus's new tilted equator, not the same plane as the rest of the solar system's planets. It explains the sheer violence we see written on their surfaces. Miranda's Frankenstein look could be the direct result of this chaotic birth, a world that tried to form from the lumpy, uneven leftovers of the impact. The heat that drives the geology on Ariel and might have created oceans on all the major moons could have been kick-started by the gravitational chaos of this new system settling down. The whole freakish family of moons aren't just orbiting Uranus. They are the children of its greatest disaster. Their very existence is proof of the violent and creative power of cosmic collisions. From Miranda's impossible cliffs to Ariel's active ice flows, the moons of Uranus are more than just cosmic oddities. They're a laboratory for understanding the most extreme forces in our solar system. For decades, they were just seen as boring balls of ice and rock. Now we see them as dynamic worlds, with evidence pointing to hidden oceans, active geology, and a past forged in a planetary cataclysm. We've only had one quick look at these worlds from a single flyby by Voyager more than 30 years ago. The mysteries we've uncovered from that one visit are mind-boggling. What else are they hiding? Could their hidden oceans actually have the right conditions for life? To answer those questions, we need a new mission, a dedicated trip back to the strangest family of worlds we've ever found. The freaky moons of Uranus aren't just relics of a violent past. They are keepers of secrets, waiting out there in the cold and the dark for us to come back and hear the rest of their amazing story. We're exploring worlds that break all the rules, from shattered moons to hidden oceans and active ice volcanoes. The Uranian system is just full of cosmic puzzles. Let me know in the comments what intrigued you the most about this video. If you love the strange and beautiful mysteries our solar system has to offer, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next trip into the unknown.